He is from Sioux City, which is not too far from my home. It's good to have another Western Iowan with us tonight. Please help me welcome Christopher Rants.
It's been a long evening. I can get you out of here faster if you just fill out that ballot right now and put my name on it, and I can sit down and be quiet. No, I've been sitting in the back of the room, and I've been sort of puzzling all day what to say. I've spent the day on the road. We're all traveling. I know Rod was in eastern Iowa today. We've all sort of been over the state. I started my morning out having breakfast in Muscatine, speaking to the Tea Party this noon in Cedar Rapids. I'm here tonight. Got to get home. I've got kids at home. Got to take them to church in the morning before I go up to the Clay County Fair tomorrow. And usually I talk in my speeches about property taxes, jobs, budget, things like that. That's my standard stump speech. I'm going to toss that away tonight. I'm going to fly without a net, which is very dangerous for me. But I'm going to talk to you about what's in my heart. And that's the thing I'm not always very comfortable with. Somebody asked me last week, I was speaking to the Conservative Breakfast Club over in West Des Moines. And somebody asked me, what's your niche? Who are you? What makes you different from the other candidates? And I talked about a number of different things, but if I had to sum it up in one area, I'd probably tell them I'm the detail guy. I'm the issue person. I'm the person who's going to focus in and have a good grasp on policy. And I'm looking at some of my colleagues, past and present, who are sitting over here, who are kind of smiling at me and nodding their head, because that's who I am. I'm a very analytical person. And if you've paid any attention to me over the years in Des Moines, either as speaker or what I've done, you probably already know that. But I want you to know a different part of me. For a guy who gets up and he talks all the time in public, there's a lot of things I keep private that I'm not always real comfortable talking about in public, so I hope you'll bear with me this evening as I ramble a little bit. I want you to know who I am, because I'm asking for your support. Maybe it won't be tonight. Maybe it'll be in June. Hopefully it'll be in November. But if I'm going to ask you for your support, you deserve to know a little bit more about me. Not necessarily what I think about property taxes or how I'd cut the state budget. I'm first and foremost a father. That's why it's a little tough to be here tonight. I've got two wonderful girls at home. And I have to tell you a little bit about one of them, my oldest daughter, Grace. Grace is my miracle child. Grace is the girl who, when my wife was pregnant, I came home from Des Moines one day during session and had to take my wife to the hospital because we weren't sure that she was going to be able to carry a baby to term. We thought we had an ectopic pregnancy. And at that point in my life, there were a lot of issues that I didn't really care about. I'd run as a pro-life candidate. I'm 25 years old at the time. Really wet behind the ears. Something you said because you're a Republican. When you end up on your knees at the chapel in St. Luke's Hospital, you don't pray to God to save your unborn mass of fetal tissue. You pray to God to save your baby. That's when I became a real pro-life candidate. That's when I became a real pro-life legislator. And that's why I have a pro-life voting record in the Iowa House of Representatives. My younger daughter, Catherine, is a good kid. She works hard. School is not the most easy thing for her. We have a lot of tears sometimes over the kitchen table working through homework. That's why I care so much about education in this state. That's why I think our schools are failing our kids. Because while our mom and dad may have expectations up here, our school districts have expectations down here. And my wife made a remark to me the other day that, our state is warehousing kids, bright kids and talented kids, but we're warehousing them like we used to warehouse the kids, that were special needs students. Because we're not focused on helping kids actually reach their potential. We're just focused on getting them through the next test and getting them out the door to the next grade. That's one of the reasons I'm running for governor. Brian alluded to the fact that I gave the speech on the floor to force the vote on the marriage amendment. Now, that wasn't something that I asked to do. My colleagues came to me. A couple of them are wandering around the back room. They said, "Chris, we need your help. We got to find a way to get a vote." I think I spoke from the heart that day. A number of people were surprised by what I said. It is an issue I care deeply about. And I want to beg your indulgence for just a minute because I think, Bob said earlier, what hill will you die on? And this is the thing, with all the candidates you have to pick from, for the most part, there are more similarities between us than there are differences. The differences are maybe how we would approach things, how we would do things. Bob asked, what hill will you die on if you won't die on that hill? I believe the hill that I will die on is truth and honesty. Because if you're not truthful, if you're not honest, and expose our own warts sometimes, how can you expect people to follow? If you're not based on truth, how does anybody believe everything else we say and what we actually do? So we have to talk about this marriage issue for just a moment tonight. I know the standard applause line is, I'll sign an executive order. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's that easy. We didn't get to the place we're at today in this state because of a Supreme Court ruling. And we better be honest with ourselves about that. It started a long time ago. I know I was looking at this, and this is one of the reasons I'm talking about it. I was looking at the history that's talked about in this little brochure tonight. And it talks about out-of-state activists. It goes farther than that. If you read the Varnum decision carefully, much of it is based on what this state has set in policy for the last 2 decades. It's not just about marriage. When the state policy for Iowa is that gay couples can adopt, and the state of Iowa will place children for foster care in the families of 2 gay couples, this really surprise you? Where was the outrage then? We better be looking at each other across the tables to say, why weren't we outraged when that happened? The Varnum decision is based in part on the Iowa civil rights legislation. It wasn't passed last year. It was passed in the previous General Assembly before the last election cycle. Where was the outrage then? We better be looking across each other at the tables and saying, what did we do or not do? We didn't get to this point overnight, folks. And you're not going to solve it overnight either. It's going to take a lot of hard work. I tell folks all the time that we're